Good afternoon. It's Sunday, and I'm here at the beautiful Yoga Village in Clearwater, Florida. And I wanted to talk to you about the importance of communication. Because how else can we interact with people if we don't effectively communicate? Most of the time, we just assume. We don't ask for clarification. We don't speak with the intent to be heard and understood. We just speak. Sometimes we just want to be heard, but we're not doing it in a way that has us getting heard. Often we have misunderstandings and failures to communicate and assume that we've done our part. But the reality is most relationships, whether it be intimate with partner or with your friends and your family or people every day in your work environment, it's the failure to communicate. It's the misunderstanding. It's the lack of communication. It's the form of communication. If you want to be heard, you have to speak with the intention of whatever the message is you're relaying is heard. And in order to be heard in that capacity, you have to ask yourself, what is it that I want to impart? What is it I can contribute? How can this person connect to me and relate to what I'm saying? So, yeah, we tend as women to very often fall into traps in assuming that there's some other reason why we weren't understood or why things don't happen. We suffer because of these problems with communication. Especially with women, because we're multifaceted, our mind can go into different directions. We can multitask. It is in our blood, it is in our nature, it is who we are as women. We are nurturers. We do more than just procreate, have babies, and take care of babies, but we take care of the world. And whereas men are single focused, and this isn't a slam, this isn't, one-tracked mind men, it's a reality. And what that means is when you communicate with the man, you have to communicate with the understanding that you're not going to try to distract him in the middle of whatever the conversation is about. If you tell him that you need something done and he starts working on that, don't try to have a conversation about something else, because ultimately that is how they're wired. They're not wired to be like us. They're not wired to understand the way we understand. So communication takes work. It takes compassion, patience. It takes understanding the background behind the individual you're communicating with, because everybody comes from a different culture, background, belief system, family upbringing. Two people from completely different worlds come together every single day. But how often do we stop and consider that the other person has a different conditioning, has a different belief system? We do try to relate through our communications. You can see it. We try to have conversations about things that connect us to another person, because that's what love is about. It's about connecting, feeling like you can relate to the other person. That is what we do to feel love, is we communicate. And that's what communication really is about. When we communicate, it's not to confront, it's to console. Confrontation is how we've often been conditioned to believe that, well, this person didn't communicate with me, or I'm upset because of such and such. Quite often, instead of responding, break down this word, returning, ponder, to think. We reflect, we respond versus react. When you react, you're coming from the ego mind. You're coming from emotion. You're going to be irrational. You're not coming from the heart, because the heart is responsible. It ponders. It vibrates love. And connection has to be on a heart-to-heart level through communication, because our hearts can be felt at like something like 25 feet away, but probably even further, especially the more open your heart is and more receptive it is to connecting with love from another person. But I really wanted to touch upon the importance here of bringing it back to how you communicate and how your style is. And if you're the first one to react and attack and get into that fight or flight injustice mode, where we so often might have been conditioned to think that's the way we show love, is because we care, we have passion, we throw up this big drama scene. Is that really realistic, or just part of a conditioning? I know for me, used to think in my family everybody got loud, and it was just what we considered our way of communicating, or I believed that was what it was. But the reality is it was all ego-based. It was all about who could be louder to be heard. It had nothing to do with listening, but everything to be about hearing. And it took me a while to sit back and realize we have to have patience and compassion for the other person that we're communicating with, and not to attack. Because when we attack, what happens? You're going to be attacked back. Because when you attack a wild animal, what happens? It will retaliate. It will defend itself. And you're not going to get a receptivity there unless the other person is aware enough to stop and have compassion for you in your reactionary mode. Because it takes just that one person to step back and to act in a different way, to respond with love and compassion, to shift the whole conversation in such a way that people grow and they learn and they evolve, and they're no longer stuck in that old pattern, that old behavior. So in your daily communications, just stop and notice. On what side of the spectrum do you vacillate? Do you go toward the reaction? Or can you stop with compassion and respond with humility and understanding that the reality is we're all different, and we all just want to be loved, and we all want to be heard. Love is about connecting. It's about communicating from the heart. And nobody can read each other's thoughts, though we may want to act like we can. It's very assuming and ego-based to think that we could read someone else's thoughts. But if you assume, you're only making an ass out of you and me. I mean, it's not helping. Ask for clarification. Don't sit in a stew. It's unhealthy for your physical body. It's unhealthy for relationships. And the only person who ends up suffering is you. So again, I love you. I'm here at Yoga Village. It's one of the most beautiful, peaceful communities. I have the woman in the tree behind me. It's one of my favorite trees. It might be a little difficult. I will turn around just so you can see it. And I'm sending you lots of love and light blessings, because it's too short to get stuck on all the old crap from our past. It's time to communicate from a different place. It's a responsible place. It's a place where love and compassion grow and your heart is soaring, because it's all about soul to soul. Many blessings. Happy Sunday.